Okay, so welcome to senior night. This is not the way that I would have liked to do it, but I'm glad that everybody could join me here virtually today. If there's anything that you have questions on, I just ask that you wait until the end, and then I'll be uh, I'll be able to answer them at that time. So without further ado, so the senior audits. So many of you guys have been in my room already, and we've already been talking about graduation requirements, and what you might need to do in order to fulfill those so that you can graduate on time. For the most part, everybody's in really, really good shape. Hats off to all of you guys with last 3 years of all your work, and it's really showing here. It's just this last final stretch, and then you guys are off to the races with college or world at work. Just to reiterate what those requirements are, it's 22 credits and passing 5 Regents exams, or a combination of an alternative pathway, which is handled on an individual basis, kid by kid. And for the most part, each one of you have passed the 5 Regents exams. If you pass the 5 Regents exams, in addition to getting the 22 credits in the right places, so for instance, 4 of English or 4 of social studies and so on, that's the type of stuff I talk about specifically in the senior audits. And then I talked about what diploma types you'll be getting. So for many of you, you might be getting a Regents diploma. Others maybe it might be a local diploma, but it's to get these other distinctions. So mastery in a subject, you would need to get 85 or better on 3 of the Regents exams in that subject area. So for instance, you could get a Regents diploma with advanced designation in math if you've gotten 85 on or better on your Algebra 1, your Algebra 2, and then your geometry. If you were able to get 85 or better on those three, you would be eligible for that mastery. If you maybe had 2 of those subjects, then you'll be getting just the advanced. Well, if you get 85 or better on all three, you'll get the advanced designation. If you pass all three, you'll get the advanced Regents diploma. You need to do the same thing in science as well. Um, if you get an average of 90 or better on those Regents exams, you can also get an honors distinction. Again, I'll talk about that kid by kid with you or parent to parent as that comes up, but each one, this is the point of the senior audits. You'll have an idea of what you will have or what you could have after the meeting. The next thing I'll talk about is SATs and ACTs. So right now we're in a weird place along with everyone else. SATs and ACTs, a lot of schools have gone test optional. So you don't have to submit your SAT scores or your ACT scores. And I put an asterisk on that because the higher the caliber of the school, the more they're going to be looking for that SAT or ACT. It's also beneficial for you just to take it still, just because it allows you to be eligible for certain merit-based scholarships. If you don't take the SAT or if you don't take the ACT, one or the other, you might not be eligible for that scholarship, and that's going to be handled at whatever school you end up going to. So Harrison, I'm going to pick on you here just a little bit, but let's say Harrison's going to Albany, and he gets a really high score on his SATs. He will be eligible for a scholarship, but that'll be handled at the school that he's applying to and gets into. And they're going to give you something maybe like a presidential or like presidential is the one that you referred to, and that covers something specifically to tuition to the school. It won't really apply to anything like the room and board, but it'll give you some money off on the tuition. A lot of state schools have that policy. But again, you're looking at doing them over 1,000. You're looking at doing about 1,200 is kind of the bare minimum you need to get in order to be eligible for those. But again, it's different school to school. So that said, the first one that you can take next is November 7th. The registration deadline has passed because it was October 7th. However, late registration deadline is open until October 27th. You pay a little bit more, but you still are able to take that exam November 7th. The two testing locations that I'd recommend is Geneva and Ithaca. Those are pretty equal distance, how far you'd have to go. Geneva's probably a little bit closer. I know that Geneva has closed in the past, and then Ithaca has remained open throughout this COVID. And it's just really hit or miss here. And I wish I could give you more information, but your guess here is almost as good as mine, unfortunately. We've had kids take them down in Geneva, and we've had kids take them in Ithaca throughout the COVID. But again, it's subject to change. Even the night before, they might say, "Oh, nope, we're going to cancel it." So at the bottom here on this screen, you'll see the closing center, the center closings. So check that the night of, even the morning of, because they might be updating it last minute on you. Again, it really just depends on the infection rates in the area, and it's unpredictable at this time. I've also linked the registration on this as well at the bottom. It's broken up into basically two sections. There's the math and the English. What you're looking for is an average score of 1,000. So 500 on math, 500 on English. So let's say you're going to take this exam November 7th, and then you get your scores back a couple of weeks later, and you go, okay, I want to take it again. You could actually super score, which means let's say you did better on your test for math, and you got a 600 in November, but you got a 400 in English. You take it again in December, and you get a 500 in math, but a 600 in English. You could actually combine those two scores to make a 1,200. And that would be just when the colleges look at your scores, they look at it in the best light possible. So they're not going to go, oh, you got a 500 here and a 600 here. We're going to take that 500 and not give it to them. They're looking to give you everything they can. Absolutely. So there's two ways of submitting those scores. You can either go to the test and you get up to 6 different schools you can submit your scores to. Before you go in, you need to find the digit codes that you got to put in, and then it'll automatically send it to those schools. If you don't do that, you'll have to go back into SAT or the College Board, and you'll have to pay them, I think it's about $10 per score that you want to send them, send that to. The other cool part is here at South Seneca, because we're so small, we're able to take those scores that you get and officially put them on your transcripts and send them to the schools. So you won't necessarily have to pay that extra $10 to send it to the school, because we'll take care of that. Other schools don't do that, just because if you got 1,000 kids in grade, that's a lot of work. But because we're so small, we can actually do it, which is a really nice part about being here. You can also take the exam in March. I would caution taking it in March, just because I don't know what we're going to be looking at in March. Maybe it's better, maybe it's worse, but the sooner the better is my philosophy here. It's also almost a little late to be getting scores into colleges if you want to be eligible for that merit-based scholarships that I was talking about a little bit earlier for those schools. They might be giving that out in January and February, or even earlier to kids, and then they have nothing left over when you turn in your scores in April. That said, they could still give you stuff. I'm just saying earlier the better. It's the same thing for financial aid, and I'll talk about that in a little bit as well. SAT is really vocabulary and reasoning, as well as math and critical thinking heavy. Historically, kids have scored better on the ACT here at South Seneca. I myself, I wasn't a South Seneca student, but I did much better on my I did better on my ACTs than my SATs. I thought they were a little bit easier. So the ACT, similar, it's got some testing dates coming up. December 12th is the next closest one. That's a little bit far out, but get it on the calendar and get your spot. I'm pretty hopeful that they're still going to be offering it at that time. Many of you guys have taken the practice ACT and practice SAT last year when you guys were juniors. So you have something to rely on when you're thinking about it. But the average score that you're looking for is about a 19 to a 23. that'll get you into most schools, no problem. Oops, sorry. That'll get you into most schools, no problem. A 36 is the highest you can do. That's the peak there. But again, we see a lot of students hit around the 21 mark. You can get $20 books to study from on Amazon. You can get if they're up to like the 5th edition, go online and get like the 3rd edition or 4th edition for like $10. You can get a used copy. It doesn't really matter. But the best way to study for these types of exams is just repetitive process and getting familiar with the timing. The timing is what throws a lot of kids off here, because you might be working on a bunch of math problems, and then 20 minutes goes by, and then you hear the proctor go, "Oh, 10 minutes remaining." Well, if you haven't been timing yourself and understanding how much time you really have, it's going to throw you not well. So I would recommend just working on getting the timing down. That would be the best thing you can do here. Again, a lot of schools are test optional, and they're not requiring these at all for admissions. That trend has been coming and coming every single year, and more schools have gone test optional. But COVID, like everything else, this has accelerated that process. And who knows, in 5 years, we might not even be talking about ACT, SAT for normal schools. It's really the Harvards and the Yales that are really going to be looking at this stuff. And that's my personal opinion, but it's just another expensive thing about the applying to college process. And I think a lot of people are seeing through it. So the ASVAB, the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. So that's what you take if you're interested in going into the military. You would link up with a recruiter depending on what branch you're interested in, and then you would take the exam, and they would admit you, and they talk to you about your options after you take the exam, depending on branch to branch. So to get registered to take the exam, you have to talk to a recruiter. Unfortunately, that's not something we can administer here in school. It's something that a lot of the time you'll have to go to a site to take. What we can do is a career exploration program, which is actually, like a bunch of you kids actually took it last year, and it gave you some possible career opportunities. It had nothing to do with the military. It would just talk in general terms of look into engineering. If that's something you're interested in taking, it's got nothing to do with the actual ASVAB. It's just they're the same people that develop the exam. It's just another career exploration avenue that you can take that some kids have found to be pretty neat, and given them more insight into what they might be interested in or what they might be completely not interested in, which is just as beneficial at this point. So the service branches that I was referring to is the Army, the Marine Corps, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Coast Guard. Those are all great options. I think Space Force is also another option. That's a completely different thing, but just wanted to throw that one out there. If you're interested in any of these, please get in touch with me. I can connect you with recruiters. Unfortunately, this year they can't really sit in the cafeteria and talk to you guys casually, just because they're not pushing into schools. But I do actually have some virtual. I got some virtual stuff set up that kids can ask questions to, because it might be an option for them. But just follow up with me individually, and we'll see what we can get going. So the college search process. So there's a couple differences here. So you got to start with looking at what's realistic for you and what's going to be beneficial. So you can either go a 2-year college or a 4-year college. And let me say, the college is not for everyone, and that's absolutely fine. This is just an information meeting that we're pushing it, because when you look at statistics, kids that have a 2-4-year college degree will make far more money in their lives than a kid with a high school education. That's not saying that a kid with a high school education only with diploma isn't going to do well in life financially. It's just statistically, you do better with the more education you have, the more money you make. Money doesn't equate to happiness, but that's a different story. So 2-year and 4-year schools. So community college is what I'm saying by a 2-year. That's where you're going to get your associate's degree. From there, you can get your associate's degree and you can move on to a 4-year school, or you can start out at a 4-year school and get your bachelor's degree. So those are the two kind of options you can have here, or you can go at your own pace and you can take the 2 year, you can stretch that over a number of 3, 4 years and you pay as you go. And you can take as much time as you need to get through the program. The 2 year community colleges are really guided into targeting more cheaper and quicker, more vocational education. So what I mean by that is maybe you want to become like a dental hygienist or something that is you don't need the 4 year degree for. Well, it's a really good route to go right now, is community college. And a lot of you have accrued a bunch of college credits over the last couple of years that you've spent here at South Seneca. And if you go to a state school or a community college, those credits are going to transfer in a lot more and a lot easier. And the SUNY colleges are going to be more apt to accept it than a private school like a Syracuse. I mean, if you're a kid graduating with 40 college credits from South Seneca because you did TC3 American History, political science, stuff like that, and you're looking at, let's say, 30 or 40 credits, and you apply to Syracuse or you apply to SUNY Brockport, maybe Brockport takes 30 out of 40 credits. Syracuse might say, oh, we're going to take 7 or 8 of those credits. You're going to take the rest with us. And again, they're all selling you on something. College at the end of the day is also, they're a business. And that's what COVID has really opened the eyes to a lot of people here, is they are a business. So let's be smart about how you're shopping, unfortunately. And I don't want to say shopping, but don't beat it around the bush either. Chance to start working earlier, that's another benefit of a 2-year school. And many of them have agreements with 4-year schools and guaranteed admission into other programs for a 4-year school. So like if you go to FLCC, they've got a lot of programs through RIT up in Rochester. Yeah, that's right. And then other schools like Canton as well. And each program, there's specifically different programs that filter into other ones. But again, let's talk about that kid by kid student basis. 4-year schools, so there's a larger selection of degrees and fields of study. And what I mean by that is maybe TC3 or FLCC, maybe they only carry 10 or 20, 30, 40 programs. Maybe you go over to SUNY Oswego and you can take up to 60 or 80 different programs. A 4-year school can also offer a higher degree, so they'll be able to give you the bachelor's degree. Whereas a 2-year school, they can only offer you a associate's degree. Associate's degree, again, is 2 years. Bachelor's is 4 years. And what I mean by that is it's broken down into credits. So 1 year is, one semester is 15, and then the second semester is 15, and 30 1 year, 30 the next year. So 2 years, you get 60 credits. 4 years, you get 120. And then from there, at a 4-year school, you can even stay and get a master's degree. That's something that a 2-year school wouldn't be able to offer. For instance, I went to SUNY Oswego for 4 years, and then I stuck around for 2 additional years and got my master's in school counseling. But everybody has a different path. Other schools, other 4-year schools, I have 2 sisters. One went to a private school in Albany, and she got a master's degree in 5 years in accounting. The other one went to SUNY Buffalo University, and she got a occupational therapy degree in 5 years, which is a master's program. So there's different options, and a lot of schools are cutting the time down if you go into their school full time. If you commit right from freshman year, and you can just start out of the gate and go, okay, I'm on my path to get my master's degree in 5 years. There's a lot of programs like that. Whereas if you did go to a community college to start out, it might end up taking you 6 or 7 years in the long run. But again, everybody has their own path, and there's no wrong way. Some 4-year schools require you to live on campus, which does tend to become pretty expensive. So my experience, I mean, my freshman year, it was 10,000 for to live on campus, and then each semester was another 5,000 for tuition. So it comes out to about 20,000, and those costs have only gone up. These SUNY schools are now charging about 23, 24, even 25,000 for like each year. So it's only going up, and that trend is only going up. So to the application process. So what you're going to need to look at is either the SUNY app or the Common App. If you're really just going to be taking, if you're really just going to be looking at SUNY schools, like, and what I mean by SUNY is like State University of New York, SUNY. Those are schools that are going to be a little bit cheaper than the private schools. If you ask which one is better, to each their own. Some private schools have better connections to places like Wall Street, or they might have better opportunities in networking. But SUNY schools, you got the same opportunities as you would at a private school, in my opinion. I'm a huge, I like SUNY schools. I think that they're more affordable, and I think they're a great idea. At the same time, I've seen people have the time of their lives at private schools. I don't want to sell either one. It's for each person to figure out on their own. But again, there's these deadlines are coming up. So anything that you see that is blue on this presentation, there are links embedded. So for instance, on this one, I have a college-bound senior timeline, which some of you guys have seen this already, but this kind of just brings you through month by month where you should be around. But you guys can look at this at another time. Just to show you what the SUNY app looks like, you'd come here and this is how you'd click to apply. To be honest, I enjoy the Common App. I think it's more user-friendly for kids. I think that kids find it it's just a better interface when you're starting your application out. So I'm a huge pusher of the Common App. I think it's easier. It also allows you to, if you want to apply to both public and private schools, it allows you to apply to both. SUNY app only really allows you to apply to SUNY schools. Some private schools, they have their own portals, which is kind of frustrating, and they have their own application process. But again, school by school, you can't go wrong with the Common App here. If it's $50 to apply to SUNY Albany, then it's $50 on the SUNY app in addition to the Common App. There's going to be no difference in the price breakdown for how much it costs if you're applying. If you are eligible for free and reduced lunch, come see me and I can get you I can get you fee waivers for these schools. I can set you up so that you can get up to 6 schools for free to apply to, and anything additional you'll have to pay for, but that still saves you quite a bit of money if you want. So come find me and we can talk about that more individually. So admission deadlines. So these vary school to school, but I will say these deadlines are ones to keep in mind. December 1st, January 15th, February 1st, and then rolling admission. So what I mean by these deadlines, early decision, early action, and rolling admission. Early decision means you're going to apply really early. A lot of times in November, it might be November 1st, might be November 15th, might be December 1st. But an early decision is a contract and it's binding. So if they accept you, you have to go to their school. You can't go to another school afterwards. It's kind of like you enter this contract with them, and if they say yes, you're bound to go there. You'll be blackballed from other universities, kind of deal. Whereas early action, you're applying earlier, but it's not binding. It just shows the school that you're really interested in going there and you're eager to hear back, but you will not have to go there if you don't want to, if they accept you. I would push this one over early decision just because I don't know how much more of a benefit there is for early decision over early action. To be honest, they're not giving you a whole bunch of money extra if you go early decision versus early action. Most of the time, from what I've seen and what I've researched, is you get the same amount of money financially from that school for the most part. Rolling admission means you can apply any day of the week, any time of the year. and you can be matriculated into any program that they have. So, for instance, FLCC has rolling admission. You can apply in June and even July, and you can start school August 15th. Like that's what I mean by rolling. But if you're looking at like a SUNY Oswego, their deadline might be February 1st, and if you miss that, you're in trouble. Um, Again, there's different circumstances for COVID, so that we're seeing a ton of kids taking a gap year or maybe just foregoing college in general. But we're seeing historically low turnouts in colleges, which I completely understand why. Um, so just put that in the back of your mind. Um, at the admissions deadlines, I'm actually a triplet, and what my parents told my two sisters and I was, hey, if your college applications aren't done by Thanksgiving dinner, you're not sitting down. You're going to be in the other room finishing your college applications. So that got the three of us to get them done as soon as possible because when my mom says something, she means it. So we all got them done. Letters of recommendation. So I'm going to write all of you guys a letter of recommendation. That's part of my job as a school counselor. What you guys need to do is ask two more teachers that you have. So let's say you're applying for a math. Let's say you want to go to school to learn more about math. Well, you should probably have a math teacher that you've had here at South Seneca write you a letter of recommendation. Your other one could be from anyone else. It could be like the tech teacher, it could be music teacher, it could be a coach. Try to stay more in academics, but it could really be anyone. Again, it's kind of up to you to figure out who you want to shine you in the best light possible. And to do that, what we ask is that you fill out on this right-hand side is the senior class brag sheet that we've had in the past that some of you that had other kids might recognize. But what we've done this year is, because we're mostly virtual, is we've updated it and made kind of like a click as you go. So let's say I'm Braden Cup. Let's say I'd click on 3 and then soccer. I did golf senior year. So that's kind of how this would work. And then you continue to go on and on and on throughout. But this gives teachers and myself the information that we really need to beef up your letter of recommendation. Maybe we didn't know that you were working at Pat's part-time for the last 4 years or something like that. Maybe we didn't know that you were at Dollar General. These are the types of things that if you let us know, we can put into your letter of recommendation and just shine you in the best light possible. So the FAFSA, or the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. FAFSA for short, because who wants to say that all the time? But an overview here would be, so it opens October 1st. That said, it's now October 15th, and they've gotten far lower amounts of turnout for filling out these applications than they ever have in the past. Which means there's more money left over, believe it or not. We had a FAFSA night last week. I have that audio recording and the video recording, and I can get that all up for you guys. And I can send that out in this email that has this PowerPoint and everything. But I'm not an expert in the FAFSA. I think it's pretty confusing. I had my parents help fill it out when I did it. I learned a lot at the FAFSA nights that I attended this year and last year. But again, what I'd recommend is that you reach out to Olivia over at FLCC if you have any questions. She's the one that ran the FAFSA night for us. If you want to see what the website looks like. So they give you the option of being a student or a parent when you're filling this out. So I would recommend only using the student portal. When I was helping kids last year fill this out, and when I was helping kids fill it out with during my internship, you would have the parent do all of their stuff on the parent side in the parent portal, and then they'd get to a point where they can't submit anything or go any further, and then the FAFSA would go, okay, well, they wouldn't give you any information, and when in reality the kid needed to be the one to fill it all out, and the student, the stuff in the parent side and the parent portal, it didn't do anything. It kind of just sat there. And like I spent a lot of time on the phone with FAFSA people, and that's kind of what they explained to me. And so do not use the parent portal. It still has a lot of bugs to be worked out. Use the student only. That's my biggest recommendation here. It's the same questions, just asked a little bit differently. You're still going to be asked to fill out your tax return information and from last year. And again, please reach out to Olivia. I can get you her email. That'll be in the PowerPoint slides that I do send you as well. And that's got a full 30-minute video that explains this a little bit more in depth. But Mr. Barkeev, a lot of you guys are in College Success. He's also really well versed in the FAFSA, so I would recommend reaching out to him. So scholarships. So there's two types of scholarships. We got national scholarships and we got local scholarships. So national scholarships, they're open to everyone from Maine to Florida, all the way over to California, which means there's more people applying. It becomes a little bit more competitive. It doesn't mean you won't win it, but there's just more competition. There's larger sums of money a lot of time. But there's also there's scholarships out there for anything under the sun. And what I would really recommend is using FastWeb, because since the age of the internet, there's a whole bunch of people out there that are using the internet to kind of scam people and go, oh, you need money for college, and you got a whole bunch of people that are just like putting bogus stuff out there that you don't want to fall for. But FastWeb is the most reliable source. What it does is it compiles all of the scholarships available on the internet, and they've fact-checked it all, and it's all legitimate, and they put it all in one place, and then you put in your information as a kid, and they'll pump out a whole bunch of scholarships that you are eligible for based on information that you put in about yourself. So for instance, before you even start, you have to go through and create an account, and there's a whole bunch of questions, but don't let that scare you. That get it done, and then what it does is there's a list that comes up and goes, okay, this application is due on October 22nd. You're eligible for it. Here's what you need to do. And then the next one, oh, the 22nd, and then it goes down to 23rd, and it'll be a chronological order of different things you can apply for. But it's just, you got to be looking for it. It's all specific to you and different things and adversities that you faced in your life that you can write about. This is the time to look, and don't be modest. Local scholarships, they're only available to South Seneca students or for a select few in the area. So you'll have a bunch that are between Romulus, South Seneca, and Waterloo. And they'll offer them in that area, like Seneca County will offer scholarships. But for the vast majority, they are just here at South Seneca offered for people that have graduated from South Seneca that want to give back to the community. And then there's a whole bunch of applications that you'll see in February. So in February, I send out a scholarship newsletter, and all the seniors will get it. And it's just a breakdown of exactly what I was saying about FastWeb. It goes, oh, here's how much the award's for, who's eligible, how to apply, and who to get the information to. And it's as straightforward as that. Unfortunately, last year, and from what I've been told, even in years past, there's been a lower and lower amount of kids that have been turning in these scholarships and applying for the applications. To be honest, even if you think that this $120, $150, $300, I mean, some of these are even $1,000. These things add up very quickly. If you turn around and win 3, 4 of them because you're the only person that applied for those scholarships, I mean, you're going to be walking away a lot more money than the kid that applied for nothing. Just apply and see what happens. There's no harm in applying and putting your name in the hat. If you don't put it, it's pretty dumb if you don't. So we got virtual campus visits. They'll be coming up Google Meet. So a lot of them are on October 26th and October 27th. So what you'll also have is I have a bunch more schools that I'm waiting for them to give me the confirmation date. So there's a lot of TBD. But if there's any colleges or military that you want me to reach out to on your behalf, and I can get a recruiter or a counselor to sit down and talk with you from other schools, I'm more than happy to do that. Just you got to communicate and let me know what you're interested in. Let's say you're like, oh, Mr. Green, I'm interested in engineering. Where do I look? Where do I begin? Schedule an appointment with me and we can sit down and really go through it. Unfortunately, I can't just sit here and name off schools that fall under certain majors because it's so individualistic for kid to kid here. Like college has become so there's so many different layers to it. So we got to talk about this one on one, and that's what the senior audit meetings that I was talking about before kind of come into play. If we're sitting down and I got Alan Aho saying like, oh, I want to go to SUNY Geneseo, then I can sit there and go, hey, like October 27th at 1:30, jump into this Google Meet. I've emailed all this out to all the seniors. I mean, you click on it and it brings up the Google Meet. So you just kind of got to be there the day and the time, and the recruiter has this, and I'll be there to help facilitate it. But it's pretty straightforward here. They're looking to talk to kids, and we're looking to make connections here. We just meet us halfway. If there's any schools that you want me to reach out to, just let me know. I can make it happen. So I'm going to end the PowerPoint here, and then I'm going to move to a question and answer part. Anything that I didn't cover, feel free to jump in and ask. If you want, you can write in the chat and I can answer it that way, or jump in and I can answer any questions to kids or parents here.
Mr. Green, it's Miss Butler. I'd like to just chime in quickly on